This ain't your typical rags to riches tale. We're talking about a man who flipped the whole game on its head. From Harlem to Japan, my guy Allen Coage went from surviving the block to schooling the world in judo and dazzling the globe as bad news. Allen Coage took the cards he was dealt and made himself legendary. He took on giants, making the toughest dudes in the game look soft. But as the saying goes, not everything that glitters is gold. And when Allen Coage reached his dreams, perhaps the highest point in his career, he would learn just that. This is the story of bad news. Yo, what's poppin', fam? It's your boy Lou Too Sick, taking y'all on another wild ride through the lives of some of the baddest dudes on the planet in the history of combat sports. We've already chopped it up with dudes like Gene LaBelle, our boy Jack Briscoe, but today we're shining the spotlight on a true OG, and that's my man Allen Coage, Bad News Allen, or Bad News Brown if you were a fan of him back in the day. This man ain't just a wrestling legend, he's an Olympic boss, an Olympian medalist. He's the dude who had Andre the Giant shook, and he's the dude who had Stone Cold Steve Austin inspired. So let's jump into his story. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe, comment below, let me know what you think, and remember always, baby, keep those hands up. Born in Harlem, New York in 1943, Allen Coage knew all about hard times. Just making it through school was a grind. Fighting was his daily hustle until he spotted a dojo sign that said, "Don't let the hood beat you up and take your money." That was his light bulb moment. Allen jumped into judo head first, and the dude trained like a beast, training 3 hours a day, 4 times a week, and the results followed. Black Belt magazine even said at the time, "An Allen Coage comes across once in a generation." My man was really putting in that work. After smashing it in the States, winning the AAU championship in 1966, the Pan American Championship the next year, Allen took his game to Japan. He was on a mission to make a name for himself. Now we all know the Olympics, well, that's the holy grail for any amateur athlete. And our man Allen, he went to Japan with the hopes of training up and maybe representing Team USA in the future. And that wasn't no walk in the park. In 1972, Allen was a top pick for the Olympic team, but a nasty injury had him pulling out of the trials. He had surgery, and by 1976, he was ready to snatch that gold. But politics during the 1976 trials got in the way. They changed the rules on the fly. Allen and his opponent protested and walked off the mat, live on national TV. After a lawsuit and a whole lot of drama, Allen got another shot, and he would represent Team USA at the Montreal Games. That's where he became only the second American to medal in the sport, grabbing bronze. A big win, but after the hype died down, Allen was still struggling and left the Olympics with just 60 cents in his pocket. So while in Japan, he decided to make the switch to pro wrestling. And that's where things got interesting. So when Allen wanted to take up professional wrestling, he looked to none other than Japan's very own Antonio Inoki. If you don't know him, he fought Muhammad Ali. Look it up. Well, Inoki was known in Japan. He was mad famous for mixing like the theatrics of professional wrestling with real scraps, and people believed it. It was massively popular. This was a perfect fit for Coage. You mix his background in judo, the whole look of him, and he was a massive, massive hit. And this is where Bad News was really born. Bad News had a killer run in New Japan Pro Wrestling in the late 70s and early 80s. He was the epitome of tough, hard-hitting action, and he had all the fans buzzing. But it was around this time in Japan that Bad News made his mark, not just in the ring, but outside of it too. While on a tour bus one night for New Japan, all the wrestlers were hanging out when the legend himself, Andre the Giant, started railing off racist jokes. Coage, well, he stood on business. He demanded the bus to be pulled over, and right there in front of everyone, he got out on the side of the road and challenged the Giant to a fight. Bret Hart wrote in his book, "The Giant looked out the window and never made a move." The next day, inside the hotel lobby, Bad News would renew his challenge with the Giant, with multiple people saying Andre backed down and eventually apologized. The story would follow Coage and add to his persona of a hard man, and in the 80s, he'd take that persona and return home to North America. So at about this time, Coage would embark on a new chapter in his life. He would pick up everything, move from Japan to Canada, and join Stu Hart's Stampede Wrestling. And here, his reputation for violence only grew. Bad News was the perfect heel at this time. Really, it can't be understated. He legitimately scared people in attendance. The promotion's announcer also briefly quit because he thought Allen's matches were too violent, and the Athletic Commission of Calgary also suspended Coage for some reason, even though it's all scripted. The truth is, though, his matches and performances were that realistic. During their matches, Dynamite Kid says he was hit with everything: a chair, a fire extinguisher. He even said Bad News took a real swing at him with an axe. It was at Stampede Wrestling that Coage spent the bulk of his career. From 1982 to 1988, he was a top heel for the company, feuding with multiple names like the Dynamite Kid and even Bret Hart. During this time, he held the North American Heavyweight Championship multiple times. This title was one of the most prestigious in the promotion's history and cemented his status as a top competitor in Stampede Wrestling. So we spoke about the ultimate goal for amateur athletes. Now you tell me, what's the ultimate goal for professional wrestlers? Well, that's the WWE. Let's be real. Back then it was called the WWF. And in 1988, Bad News decided to take his shot at the big time. At 45 years old, he basically figured the time is now. And it was here he learned that the bright lights might not all be what it's cracked up to be.
What they could do collectively.
Hailing from Harlem, New York, weighing
They are a proven
271
commodity.
pounds,
So is this man.
Bad News Brown.
When Bad News Allen entered the WWE, things quickly took a turn for the worse. Vince McMahon changed his name from Bad News Allen to Bad News Brown, securing control over intellectual property and proceeds from any Bad News merchandising. Despite his success in the ring, Coage never rose above the mid-card. He feuded with household names like Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, with his most high-profile match coming at a WrestleMania against Roddy Piper. It was a match Coage found embarrassing, as Piper painted himself half black, something Coage vehemently objected to. After 2 years, Coage had enough and walked away from the promotion. He claimed he was promised a run with the World Championship, a promise that was never fulfilled. Reflecting on his time with the promotion, Coage described Vince McMahon as a backstabbing egomaniac who often sought to put himself over before the rest of the world.
Weighing in at 271 pounds from Harlem, New York, Bad News Brown.
Bad News with a taped right hand. He's bad.
William Shakespeare once wrote, "Not all that glitters is gold." Allen Coage's life is a poignant example of this. In one chapter, he worked tirelessly to reach the pinnacle of the judo world, only to find out it couldn't provide for his family. In wrestling, he achieved his dream of joining the WWF at 45 years old, only to discover that it was there where he felt the most discontent. Coage continued to work in independent promotions for several more years from Canada to Japan before retiring in 1999 due to a knee injury. He'd live in Calgary with his wife, where he would be a huge celebrity. He'd teach wrestling to younger kids, even introducing a younger Krzysztof Sosinski into mixed martial arts. Unfortunately, Allen Coage would pass away from a heart attack on March 6, 2007. Despite never reaching the highest of heights in the business, Bad News still left a lasting impact. His intimidating and no-nonsense character reportedly was the blueprint for the man we know today as Stone Cold Steve Austin. From the streets of Harlem to the Olympic podium, and from the wrestling rings of Japan to the bright lights of the WWF, Allen Coage's journey was one of relentless determination. In the end, his life serves as a testament to the idea that not all dreams are as they seem. Yet his legacy remains as a true warrior, one who faced every challenge head on, embodying the spirit of bad news until the very end. It's your boy Lou Too Sick. I hope you guys liked the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure y'all keep watching. We got so much more coming. So much more coming in the future. Stay tuned. And always, keep your hands up, baby.
Every time I wake up, shit feel the same. Got a million thoughts and they weighing on my brain. Sipping on my favorite liquor just to ease the pain. Cause I feel like I'm crazy and desperate need to change. Making plans to move and talking state to state. Talking pounds and haze, medical high grade. Look how my eyes stay, what more can I say? How dare a nigga tell me that this rap won't work?